Hello and welcome to Industry Elites. On this podcast, Industry Elites' very own Natalie and Vicki are going to be discussing the latest news trending around the world.
The next item listed on this tips for survival was meeting your professors. So a professor who wrote this point, they can assure us that the only upside to getting to know your professor, especially if it's later even in the semester, is if you're running into snags and you really need a helping hand. Like we said before, if they're not knowing who you are, they're not likely to give you that extension or likely to give you that understanding. They're going to be like, well, who are you? So they have office hours that you can attend for the sole purpose of getting to talk to their students. So really everybody should take advantage of that. So it's a really true point, and I wish I did do more of that in my university years. It was just something that was super daunting. I don't know, whether I was intimidated or I didn't feel like I needed the help. Didn't start that early on. So as it got through the years, and I feel like that only got harder and harder, even though my classes got smaller and smaller. It really took me pushing myself, I guess, out of my comfort zone to be able to have those conversations, because for some reason when I didn't start it, it just lingered on as, okay, this daunting thing of, shoot, now we really need to talk to them, because what if I need a reference letter? What if I need this, or in this situation, they wouldn't have any idea who I was. So that's definitely something I think I struggled with. How about you, Vicki?
I think I was pretty much okay with it because my classes were pretty small and my teachers were incredibly chill. Most of them were guys, but it was like they were just your cool older brother. They swore at you. They would straight up tell you what's up, no hesitation. We all called them by their first names. I remember my one prof in his office, he had a coffee maker. And he was just like, because we had insane deadlines, so we had a rule, and it was we could all drink as much coffee as we wanted. He was not responsible for any anxiety attacks or heart attack. And as long as the pot was always full, that was the only rule. So if we emptied it, we had to brew a new pot. And you could drink as much coffee as you want. And this sounds insane, but my class used to honestly like take a 2-4 of Monsters a week. So caffeine was all we had to survive. Especially too, like my one prof, he's kind of local. My dad sees him at the gym all the time. They talk to each other. They're just really chill people. But I had this one, and it was probably my only biggest class. It was an art history lecture. It was 3 times a week, and it was always at the dawn. Like it was my only 8 a.m. class, and it was split up. One was 2 hours, and then the other 2 were 3 hours each. Prof was really hardcore about being on time. So even though the class didn't start to 8, you had to physically be in the odd by, I feel like it was 7:30. Like it was something really, really silly for being early. And she would lock the doors. So you weren't getting in. Like it was just not happening. So me being the college student that I would show up to every single one of these lectures with a hoodie, a fitted hat with my hood up, track pants, and Uggs or flip-flops, depending on the season. But that was pretty much the outfit. So I had to take that all 4 years. This was probably one of the last midterms, I would say. And you had to go up to the front to physically get this test because they changed it to the Scantrons, which most of hers were written tests. So you had to physically go up and get it. They couldn't pass it out. So I went down and I was just like, hi, Victoria, I have my sheet. She looked so stunned. And she looked at me dead in the eyes and went, for the last 4 years, I thought you were a boy. And I literally, and she goes, I just assumed your name was Victor and it was a typo. And I was like, oh, thank you. Meanwhile, the hoodies I was wearing were like bright pink, or they'd have Sailor Moon on them. And like my hair was long and blonde. Like it's clearly a girl.
And I mean, like you always love a good set of nails. So I mean, like, okay, yes, guys could like a good set of nails too. But just all of that in combination together. And she thought you were a boy. Like,
yeah,
what?
I thought I was a boy. And I literally just stood there like, I mean, I get it, but okay.
You get it, but like that's like the smallest occurrence that could be the case.
Yeah.
Like for her to guess that, or for her even, she could have just kept that comment to herself.
I
Like
know.
she could have laughed at that something when she got home, not verbally. It maybe just spit out, like, you know, like verbal diarrhea when you're just saying something you think, but it's not actually the intention for it to leave your mouth. Yeah, maybe it was one of those, because I feel like she probably thought about that for a solid couple days after. Like, why did I say that out loud?
It's true. I just thought it was so funny because I was like, okay, see, my biggest class and my teacher has no idea who I am. All right. And I always answered questions and stuff. So she heard my voice. And yeah, I don't know. That's my funny story.
Oh my goodness. But another thing now is that's going to be a totally different experience, because going back to how we said with COVID, if students are primarily learning online, I think that's going to make virtual office hours maybe for professors. So students are going to have to be a lot more creative in terms of trying to build those relationships with their tutorial leaders or professors, just in order to get their questions answered or to obviously get noticed in different ways. You can't just, it's not like sitting in a lecture hall, okay, class is done, and there's that line of students waiting to have questions answered by the prof, and you're one of them. Can't really do that now. So it's going to be interesting to see how schools are making those adjustments necessary, that you can hopefully get something similar to what we got as students actually going into school. So definitely something to look at.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I just feel like if you're a shyer person, it's probably easier to get in that line with other people. Even if you don't really know them, you're not completely alone, and then ask your question versus, hi, can I have a one-on-one Zoom meeting? Like, I feel like that would be very daunting, especially if you didn't really know them or they didn't know you. Like, you just kind of be on Skype, like, so B1 on the test, eh? Like, it would just be so awkward.
It would. And like, what if you only have one question? Then I feel like most places people are just gonna be like, I'll just email the professor, right? Like, we're gonna schedule a Zoom meeting for me to talk about my one question. It's gonna be like 2 seconds. She's gonna answer it and then it's done. So I feel like maybe if anything, they're gonna have to do further online lectures, maybe like a question and answer period or something like that. So you can have multiple students on the line versus that one-on-one scheduled meeting. So the next one on the list is getting to know your academic advisor. So the academic advisor are the set of people that are kind of assigned to help you out through your journey of university or college. So they can help you with course conflicts, adding or dropping courses, scheduling of classes for future semesters, deciding on maybe what you want to minor or major in. And the person is kind of your key resource to academics all throughout for your few years that you're there. So don't be afraid to ask them any other questions, or if you don't click with the one that you're with, you can always be asked assigned to a new one. So some people are like, hey, can I figure this stuff out on my own? I kind of got this covered. I don't really need anybody else. But there's a lot of things that you have to figure out in your time of college or university, right? Like when you're starting off in the beginning, things are super general in terms of your courses, but there's a lot of things that, okay, if you're taking one course, that might require another required course. And if you can't get into that required course, you're going to have to reach out to someone in order to do that. Those are the people you're wanting to kind of get a hold of. And then just navigating through it, ensuring that you're on track for everything you need upon graduation, because it would suck if you get to that finish line and they're like, oh, well, you don't really qualify for graduation because you needed this and this and this. So it's always good to keep in touch with them throughout your years, and any questions you have, they're usually super helpful. So I think that's one of the experiences that I had, is like utilize all of your resources that you have available to you.
So the next one on our list here is seek a balance. So as we know, college and university is hard work. There's a lot of homework to do. There's a lot of clubs to participate in, and it's just a lot, especially if this is kind of your first time away from home. So the key to this is exactly as the title says, balance. Yes, you do need to stress really hard on making sure you complete your schoolwork, but also take time for yourself too. Because if you're staying up all night studying and not getting any sleep, you're just gonna, as people say, burn the candle from both ends. And you're gonna get sick. You're not gonna do very good in school because you're just gonna constantly be tired. And the whole kind of, not the point, but a good part of the college learning experience is to exactly that, have the college experience. Like, you want to go out with your friends, you want to meet new people, you want to join new clubs, you want new experiences.
Yeah, I think it's definitely important, like you said, to have that balance. And if you don't have balance, I feel like you're just going to be a miserable individual, right? Like I always saw those students, and maybe they enjoyed it, but the ones that were just all about school. And I was never one of those students. And maybe if I was, I would have achieved higher marks than I did. But I was always average in school, like nothing too low or nothing too high. But I feel like it was always kind of that relief when you had that balance of being able to go out or going to different events. And in university, they always had different things that they way through for first year students, whether it was their beginning frosh events or leading into the rest of the year. There was always different events that popped up. And I think as individuals, it's always good to take that step back and to enjoy the things that they already have on there. And especially too, you're paying for the experience. I'm pretty sure in your tuition, part of the costs that you're paying for are put into this orientation process. So why not take advantage of it at the same time and then get back to your work?
Yeah, exactly. Like if you want to go and have fun, do it. Just make sure all your work's done first. And then you don't have to worry about it. I found for me, if I had stuff kind of due earlier the following week, like Monday, Tuesday, I could make sure that I powered through it the week before. So then I didn't have to worry about it all weekend. And then that way it's not hanging over your head. You have time to relax. You have time to go out. If you have extra time on the weekend, you can definitely add to things or put in some extra studying. But if you get your work done, you don't have to stress about it. And I think that's kind of the key because college is stressful enough. So let's try to minimize that as much as possible.
Exactly. Agreed. And I think the next thing we've touched on is just about getting involved with things that are happening on campus. So one of the biggest issues with a lot of the new students is a combination of feeling homesick and not feeling like you're really belonging. So a way that you can help that, or at least a little bit, is by joining several groups. So obviously, you don't want to sign up for 30 different things, but it's always good if you find something or you see something, be like, oh, I think that would be a really good fit. Just sign up for it. Like, if you don't like it, you could always stop doing it, but you don't want to hold yourself back by any means by being scared or being worried what some people might think of you. Just do it. From student organizations to clubs to sororities or fraternities or even sports teams, you'll be able to make new friends, learn new skills, and then you can also have that as a way to stay connected to your school. So I can't say that at university I really did join any clubs or do any of things that they said here. Maybe if I did stay on campus, it would be a bit different. But I also think that sororities and fraternities are not really a big thing here in Canada. I feel like that's more of a States thing.
Yeah, I can only think of one sorority, and I think it's at Guelph.
Like if they were a sorority, I feel like that would be so cool to go to those kinds of parties because I've heard they're absolutely insane.
Yeah, that would be fun. I feel like it'd be very Project X.
Oh,
clubs available to me were people that were already really almost pro at things, like all the sports teams. Like you couldn't just, I'm going to play basketball today and learn how to play basketball. Like these were people that have been playing basketball since they were 6. Like they're very established teams. Same with some of the music things. Like they were all for people that were already established. There wasn't a lot of kind of noob, I guess you could say, clubs. Yeah. And not that they discouraged you, but we all kind of knew it was the truth when you got there. And yeah, my school was just really big on sports. Like they had a dodgeball league and stuff like that. It was just a beer league.
Thinking of dodgeball, I feel like you'd have to really just want to do something fun and just to get out with your friends. And if it was a few people doing it to go sign up, I feel like you'd be more likely to do so, or in terms of anything really. But as an individual just going into that specific club, I feel like you'd have to really be good at it. Like as an individual myself, I couldn't just go by myself into an area of something that I've like never touched before or that like I've not really that experience with, because I feel like it'd be so intimidating. I wouldn't even make it through the first day.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's what I would say all these clubs were. So what I kind of did in lieu of was the pub on campus. They always had events, and not just like club style events, but they had like they would bring in hypnotists, or they would have comedy nights, or like they had this oxygen bar thing. It was really weird.
Oh,
but
cool.
Yeah, it's literally like, what flavor air would you like to breathe? And then you got to pick your flavor of air, and then you breathed pure oxygen.
We had a Little John concert.
Oh, that's fun. That's actually really fun.
Remember going, and I'm just like, this is the weirdest thing. We're at university right now, and this is like a Lil Jon concert. It's like, and he's singing a song like, to the window, to the wall. I'm like, oh my God, this is real life.
Amazing. You had actual things. We had Down with Webster.
Oh yeah, I think we did too. Maybe that was a shared thing between our schools.
Yeah, probably. They got like a deal. I'm trying to think who else was there. That's the only one I remember, but I remember there was a bunch. Lights, Mariana's Trench. They were very Canadian. It was like Dragonette, and I didn't go to Dragonette because it was pouring that day, and I was like, I don't want to stand in a field while it's raining.
Some people still mission out to it. Like they have such a passion to go that you'll see you're driving past and you're like, oh, they're really going to do it. And they stand out there all night as it just pours rain.
That's literally what happened, because we went to go get dinner or something like at the calf, and people were there, and they weren't even like wearing ponchos or anything. They were just there in their clothes in the rain, and we were like, you guys are troopers. We're not that strong. But
we're not doing it.
No, not at all. They had stuff too in my program where they had like side clubs, but you didn't need to know anything. Your, I guess, prerequisite was you were already in the program, so therefore you were already creative. Like they had a calligraphy club, and so that was like, loosely attached to art, or you could go for different things. Like we had a life drawing class where we had to draw naked people. It was horrible. And but
like
it
in the
was
Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, that movie where they're like she's in an art class or whatever.
Oh yeah, like that's it. That's literally it. It's traumatic. And it's really rough to do at like 9:00 in the morning.
Not something you want to see right at 9:00.
Yeah, like you could do extra classes for that, or they would do like specific mediums. So it was like loosely attached. So that was kind of fun because you somewhat knew, and no one judged. Like it wasn't that I just showed up to go play guitar now, because we know that's not going to work. But if there's options available to you and there's something that you want to do, or even if you don't think you're totally good at it, give it a shot and have fun with it. So next on our list here is also rather obvious: strive for good grades. Just kind of like high school, good grades are very important still in college and university. Some programs it's more important than others. Mine specifically, you just wanted to pass. Good grades were a bonus. It depends a lot on your program. Like I know certain jobs in certain industries, they want to see your transcript and look at your grades. So one of my tips for that too would be not only strive for good grades, period, but be aware of that, especially too, I believe you kind of said earlier, if there's a specific program that you might need going forward, to make sure that you do really good in that class, because then it will also kind of help you set up anything you want to possibly do in the future, whether that be grad school or getting a job. And just in general, like always do your best. And this kind of goes back to make sure you go to class, make sure you're nice to your professors, and make sure you stay organized. This all kind of ties into this one big overarching goal.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. And I think with the good grades piece of things, with maybe how you're saying with yours, like just like all you guys really need to do is get that pass. With ours, the pass I feel like was a bit, I don't know if it's different in different courses or different programs that you're taking. There's always a different pass grade sometimes, right? So you have to be aware of that as well. So it's not like in high school where just your 50, that's your pass. You really have to make sure you read in with each course what they consider that pass to be. So always take that into account. And then there's a pass for the course, but there's also a pass to keep like your honors degree. So if you're trying to get an honors in something, you have to uphold a certain passing grade for that. If you're just taking a regular BA, bachelor's, then there's a pass grade for that. So make sure you're just aware of what you're taking or what you want to be taking, because you have to be aligned with those grades in order to apply to get your honors. Another way that you can get that success and ensure that you can keep those good grades would be making those connections with your students in class. So having people that you know in each class is super important, because there is times where life gets in the way, where you might have to miss a class, or you're stuck in some traffic if you're driving there, where you end up missing half the lesson, right? So in their slideshows that I know professors put up, they're only putting up the bare minimum for you. It's really going to be about how you take the note and stuff that you're adding into it that's going to give you that advantage. Because if you're not showing up and you're getting the bare minimum of their slide, you're not going to be successful. So having people in each of your classes, then you can trade. So one time you're sending it to them, then they'll send it to you. So it's definitely going to be an asset to your success for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I know one of the things, a friend of mine recently just became a lawyer, and what she had in law school was they had her kind of group of class friends. They had a Google Doc, and they would all input their notes into this one Google Doc, because you get different angles from everyone on how they write their notes and what they deem important. And they made one master document, and I thought that was the smartest thing I've ever heard of.
So smart. Yeah. No, we did that a few times for like final exam prep. When you'd get that review potentially from your professor, it would be so obscenely long. So we would take pieces of it and kind of break it down, like, okay, you work on this, you work on that, you work on this, and then you end up with like a 45-page review. So you can imagine doing that by yourself would be disturbingly long versus splitting it with those 10 people. You guys helped each other out because you're all in the end hopefully going to benefit from it. So that's definitely ideal. So one of the final items that we had listed here was just about don't procrastinate. So you have to prioritize things. And that's one of the things that I feel like procrastination could come into effect a bit more because you don't have someone that's on you to complete your work or to finish something, right? Like you did in high school. So you're having to really be on yourself in order to get things completed. And because of how free college and university might feel, that could sometimes really take over. So you have to be super vigilant of that.
Yeah, it's true. I know in college I was a huge procrastinator. I was in high school. I did everything at 11 o'clock the night before. It's just a thing. But it's one of those things that you really need to kind of get over. Like life does get in the way, but you need to not procrastinate as much as possible because it's one of those skills that carry over into the business world. Like my job now, if I procrastinated, it just wouldn't happen. Like there's no way I could do a day's worth of work at 3:30 in the afternoon. It just wouldn't happen. So it's one of those things that you do have to kind of harness yourself and really work on that just for kind of your future self.
Exactly. Yeah, those are definitely one of the transferable skills. I think that's for sure. Because I'm pretty sure if any of us in any of our positions were procrastinating, we wouldn't probably have a position that much longer.
This is true. You can't argue that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last one on our list here and is probably one of the top 5 most important one, and it is stay healthy and eat right. We all know college and university, first time we've moved away most of the time. You're busy. A lot of us don't know how to cook at this point, and we don't have a lot of money. So it's really important to make sure you're not ordering pizza every day. Try to find the healthiest, if possible, items in your school's cafeteria. And just be kind of aware of it. This is one of those times where you'll eat a bag of chips for breakfast and see nothing about it because you're still young. Freshman 15 is a real thing. And it's really important to, like, not only physically, but if you're not eating right, you're not thinking properly, you're going to be tired all the time. It's not good for your education to not be eating properly as well as your body. There's a lot of ways that you can do it for less money, like get more frozen vegetables and fresh. It is doable. I know it's really hard with a mini fridge, but there's a lot of resources online too that you can kind of look at student recipes and how to eat healthy on a budget.
Exactly. And I think it's one of those stereotypes as well. So even though it might be true, I think it's also a stereotype thinking that as soon as you get into university, that might happen to you. And it could if you let yourself go, or obviously if you're getting super comfortable with enjoying the finer foods in life. But I think if you have a good balance, like we said, and just ensuring that you're staying active while also enjoying those things, then you're going to be better off for it. And if you are gaining a little bit, then don't stress too much. I don't think people should have anxiety over gaining a few pounds. I don't think that's the case at all because changing of environment could lead to that too. Just the different foods that you might have been eating in your home environment and then coming to school now, whatever the food might be. So just take that into account. Don't be too hard on yourself, but hopefully these tips and tricks really do help you guys starting off on your year of school, and hopefully these could help for past school as well.
Yeah, for sure. We really hope you guys kind of enjoyed our going through the list and I guess our personal experiences from this. And we'll see you next time.
See you guys. Thanks. So that's it for our episode on education. Hopefully that gives you guys some good tips on how to survive your 4+ years of school.